everyone. This is Amy Dean, and welcome to our weekly live show. I just want to make sure you can hear me today because I am trying out something new. So let's see if it ends up working or not. So let me know if you could in the chat with a yes, I can hear you, or no, I can't hear you. And that would give me a very clear indication that it's working or not. And so in the meantime, I'm just going to continue going forward and hopefully you can hear me okay. It looks like everything is working from my end, but you never know. So I want to double check and make sure. So just want to just let you know this is the beginning of our September live show. And so every month we have a different theme that I'm going to be teaching on. And this month is particularly on slow living. So if you're ready to jump into a more, well, I guess a better word for this is not jumping into a more mindful life, but stepping into a more mindful life so you can really get in touch with your true self and commune with your soul in the highest and deepest way possible, I'd love to have you join. So for today, oh, good. Thank you, Heidi, for letting me know you can hear me. Good. I hesitate to go forward before knowing. That's always good to know. Thank you. So I want to just give you a bit of background. I know that some of you join live for the first time. So for those of you who are new, my name is Amy Dean, and I'm a holistic psychotherapist and soul ascension coach. And what I do is I help empaths. Truly, the number one goal is to awaken spiritually. But in order to do that, we have to heal our inner child, right? We have to truly get in touch with the wounding and the trauma that we've struggled with. And I'd love to help you unearth that. And one of the ways we do that is through mindfulness, which is connected to our slow living topic today. So, if you are new, just so you know as well, I go live every single week here in our group, and you can always watch the replay if you can't make it live, although I always recommend coming live when you can. So, now get ready, turn off any distractions if you can. Make sure you have this time just to yourself. I'm going to go through how to discover slow living to connect with your soul in a fast-paced world. So we're all living in it. We're all in this together. Let me know if any questions come as more people come on here. And I'm happy to answer them as we go along. I want this to be interactive and I want to be able to help you through this. So let's start with the basics around slow living. And then I'm going to give you some true and very helpful tools and resources to start to make some shifts and changes in your own life. And then we're going to do a meditation together so you can get in touch with your highest self and begin to step into a slow living life with ease and knowing that you're on the right track. So, with that being said, let's start with the basics. So, what is slow living? Right. And maybe some of you have already heard that before. And if you have, I'd love to hear in the comments what's your experience with slow living? Have you tried to adopt this kind of experience for yourself, for your own lifestyle? Or let me know, no, this is totally 100% new to me. And I'd love to hear either way. But slow living simply means that we are taking a slower approach to life, to connect with everything around us, to enjoy nature, to consume less, to be more fully present and at peace in the moment. So mindfulness is a huge part of slow living. We have to truly understand that being present is everything. Because if we're not present, we're missing life. And especially when we're not present, we're usually running around trying to multitask, trying to make things happen, and that's exhausting. And so slow living takes that down like 300 notches, right? Let's turn the dial down. And it says, let's just be. Instead of trying to do, let's be, right? Let's just be in the moment together. Let's be present and connect on a much deeper level as human beings. And so another topic here is that we also is sometimes synonymous with simple living. You might have heard that term before, simple living. And simple living is absolutely connected to slow living. The difference is often simple living is sometimes looked at as like decluttering your house or your workspace or whatever that looks like for you in your physical world. And so, what I want to help you with, especially in this series this month, is decluttering your inner life, your mind, the tool from which you work from every single day. Because without that, you're not going to be able to declutter things and really feel that sense of calm and ease in the highest and most profound way possible. So that colors your experience, right? You could clean up your whole house and then your mind's still telling you, well, we have more to do and we got to keep going, right? So I want to help you settle. I want to help you get really clear about what matters, about what it means to live a meaningful and truly happy life. So that's what I'm here to do during this series. So I'm going to give you another, or at least, as much as possible, as much information as possible about what slow living is. So you can define it in your experience and so that it makes perfect sense to you before I offer some tools to help you make it a reality. So slow living says that when we slow down, we enjoy life more. We connect with our loved ones more. We feel at ease. We feel connected to all that is. And truly, we have a greater overall sense of well being. It's a value system as well as a lifestyle. So it's not something just to think about, or it's not like, you'll go on Pinterest sometimes, right? And you'll see, oh, I like that quote, right? It's a slow living quote about being true to yourself or being authentic or taking time for yourself to spend time in self-care. And it's lovely, right? Lovely sentiments, and they can absolutely guide us towards taking action. But the truth is, this is a lifestyle. This is a value that you must hold within yourself in order to make it a reality. And anyone who's stressed out enough, anyone who is anxious or depressed, burnt out, or just feeling a lack of joy, right, in your day to day life, there's like an emptiness or a loneliness there, or just something doesn't feel right. Just know that slow living can help, absolutely can make everything so much easier. And I'll go into a little bit more about what that looks like as well. So, one thing to note is that we tend to glamorize being busy, don't we? It's so common. We always look at busy as a status symbol, right? It's normal and everybody's saying that to each other. But here's the truth: busy does not mean that you are productive, and it does not mean that you are fulfilled, right? It absolutely does not equate to happiness, right? You may have noticed, right? You might have a super busy day and maybe you feel some kind of satisfaction as a result of getting things done. However, it's not always that way, is it? Sometimes you'll run around like crazy all day long, and at the end of the day, your head hits the pillow and you're totally drained. There's nothing left. And that's most of life, I would think, for most people. It's less of this, oh, I got so much done today and I felt so present and I felt this sense of calm as I got the things I needed to get done. And maybe that does happen on your good days. But how would it be to have more good days, right? And to really feel like your life is slowing down in the best way possible. So, what's really important about slow living is that we need to identify our belief systems that we've been told about what makes us successful, what makes us okay, what makes us lovable or worthy. Because we're told work harder, we're told to make things happen quicker, we're told to do more with less. I mean, look at all the productivity apps, look at all the different ways that we can make things happen. We live in a doing based culture. It is not thriving on being in any way. And so we're kind of taking things in a different direction with slow living. And it's a completely different way of experiencing your life. And so people in your life might not agree with it. Not everybody's going to be on board with this kind of lifestyle change. And often you're going to come up against obstacles, such as, let's say you have a slow living lifestyle, but your boss asks you to take on more work. and you know that family is a value of yours and you absolutely want to go home when you're supposed to go home. And so this is where we come up against struggle, right? And the trouble with setting boundaries sometimes because we know it's true for us. We know we want to live a slower, more calm, more connective life with others. Yet we feel bogged down, bombarded with so many responsibilities. And so, what I want to mention about this is that one thing, right, is of course we can't take away all of your beliefs around being successful or being busy or being achievement oriented or, those old beliefs around I'm lazy if I don't do this or people won't like me if I don't, take on more work or whatever that may be. The truth is, the only way to connect deeply with your soul is to get quiet, to get still, and to listen. And often your body's saying, I need a break, right? It's too much. I can't do this anymore. And so we have to start listening because and I know there are consequences to not listening, right? And that includes physical problems, that includes emotional problems and relationship problems, everything, you name it. So this takes courage, doesn't it? It's not as easy as, okay, I'm going to adopt a slow living lifestyle and everything's great. In truth, we're so used to running away from ourselves. We're so used to feeling this avoidance around feeling, right? We have all these emotions bubbling up within us and we try to avoid them. We try to suppress them. And so, what's interesting about slow living is that we're choosing to live a more mindful life. We are choosing to live a more present life. And therefore, as we're doing that, it doesn't always mean you're going to feel calm, not at first, right? Because we have to allow the things that need to surface. We have to be open and curious, and we have to be willing, right, to sit with those things. And so with that, you might think, okay, this is hard. It's kind of like sitting in meditation, right? If I slow down my life, it means I'm going to feel more. Yes, you're going to feel more. You're not only going to feel, of course, the anxiety you might have been feeling, but that's a good thing because we need to feel things to heal them, right? But you're also going to feel less stress, less anxiety, going to feel more connected to nature, more connected to the people you love and everybody else you see in the world. You're going to have more purpose and more meaning because life is dull and boring and just quite frankly not really worth doing, right? If you're in constant go, go, go mode, because there's not much left, right? You're missing the fruit of life, right? You're missing the aliveness of life in and around you. So, what happens is once we adopt a slow living lifestyle, we are connecting with our inner world more. We have more courage and bravery to be with what is in the moment. And what happens is all of a sudden, these emotions, right? Maybe could be subtle for you or could be quite quick. They start to settle. You start to feel more at ease. Your body thanks you because you're taking a break, right? You're not pushing yourself again. And so I want to talk about what slow living might look like in different areas of your life. So you have a very clear picture of what that feels like, what kinds of changes you might need to make in order to make this happen. So let's talk about slow living in your work life, because if you're like many, that's an area of challenge around slowing down because we're often multitasking and we're trying to focus on so many things at once. And the idea here with slow living is that we want to focus on important tasks that don't necessarily require the most work, but they lead to the most productive experiences and the most long lasting results possible. So, this eliminates the need to work over the regular hours that you're scheduled and helps you stay present with every single task you do. So, it's not just about how can I cut out the things that I don't need to be doing off my to do list. It's also about how can I be more mindful about what I am doing so that I feel like I'm engaging in life, right? I'm a participator in life. I'm not just on autopilot trying to get things done, right? As we all know, that is not a good feeling. So, and also lots of studies show that a present brain is a happy brain. So, if you are constantly doing more than one thing at a time, you're not going to be happy. It's just the way our brain works, right? So it would be impossible for you, even if we think we're great multitaskers, to be able to get all of these things done and then still have time and energy and stamina to do other things that matter to us too. So that's what it would look like with work. It would be understanding what are my number one priorities? What are non negotiables that I need to get done? And which are going to lead to the outcome I'm looking for, not the busy work, not the things I feel like I have to do. Right. And I know some of you are likely employed, and so you might not have complete control over your schedule or the tasks that you do. And so it's more of bringing the sense of mindfulness to what you can do and to speak up when you recognize that a task that you're doing is not something that's going to bring your efforts forward. It's not productive and it's not helpful for the company either. So oftentimes change happens here. Oftentimes a lot of good things can happen. So let's talk about what slow living is in your day-to-day life as well. And thank you, Heidi, by the way. I love seeing that. Yes, exactly. Thank you for your comments there. And so what tends to happen in our day-to-day life is that we are overwhelmed. We're trying to do so much, right? And so I'm going to encourage you to set some very clear boundaries in your life, to say no when you mean no and say yes when you mean yes. And that you're not taking up your time with unnecessary obligations. And when you live a slow life, you're choosing to live a more joyful life, right? You're choosing to engage in hobbies that matter to you. You're doing things that really open your heart and make you feel so connected to your highest self. So it also means being intentional about the way you want to live and discovering what your values are, right? If spirituality is clearly a value, if you're watching this, right? Family might be a value for you, friendships, maybe a value for you is spending time in nature. So discovering what matters to you. And instead of that same thought process of, I don't have time for it, I'm too busy, there's not enough space in my life, I wish I could, but, right, all of these different things that we come up with, it's important to discover for yourself what does matter, what brings me meaning, and is it worth setting aside that? What is the cost of setting aside the things that matter to me and not slowing down? Right. So that's more of the question. What is the cost of not slowing down in my life? So, with that being said, too, that it sometimes with slow living, what can happen is you do tend to declutter your physical space. It comes naturally. And there tends to be this perspective of anti consumerism as well when you adopt a slow living perspective because stuff doesn't bring you joy in the same way that it may have before. It just creates more stress, in fact, if you have too much stuff. And so you start to realize this is not bringing me any kind of happiness. And all I want to do is take some time to be. Maybe it's just laughing and playing games with your family in the evening. Maybe it's watching a good movie with your partner. Maybe it's taking a evening walk and watching the sunset with a friend. And so really it's the simple pleasures of life that bring us the most joy. And so often, when you adopt the slow living lifestyle, you're no longer dependent on outside factors to make you happy. You're not dependent on the money coming in that you think that you need. You're not dependent on these different things that you thought were going to make you feel fulfilled. Yes, they might make you feel more satisfied in the moment, but they're not meaningful, right? And that's what we need to do is create a more meaningful life as, just as a humanity coming together. Because if we don't, it's just going to lead to more anxiety, more stress, more depression. We're all running around with our faces in our phones and trying to keep up with all the emails and the notifications and the things that life is throwing at us. But why? Right? And that's a question to ask ourselves. why do this, right? Why should I be on social media 5 hours a day or whatever it is for you? Or maybe for you, is why do I check my emails 6 times or 7 times a day, right? Just start to notice your patterns, your behavioral patterns that are creating extra stress and unease in your life. Because it could be avoidance patterns. It could be to avoid the pain you're feeling, could be trying to band aid it with something on your phone, right? Or going into the fridge and grabbing something out of the fridge. So, just doing these check ins can be so helpful, and they allow you to start to choose a slower life. So, of course, as you might imagine, it's so important to know, what are my beliefs? What are things that I'm carrying with me? What are these burdens that are on my shoulders? And knowing that says that we can start to untangle them together. We can start to release them. So that's what next week's topic is going to be on, is decluttering the mind and releasing these belief patterns that are not serving you, so that you can step into the slow life that you need to live in order to be a happier person. Right? In order to live a more joyful life experience and discover and live your purpose from your heart. So, I want to share some tools with you before we do a little meditation. And this is something I'm going to encourage you to do. It's probably going to be a little challenging for you, maybe. We'll find out. But I would love to have each of you try this out over this next week, these different tools. Check in with me either at our next live next week or in our Facebook group, because I want to hear, how is it going? I want to know how things are working for you and what you're noticing and what you're feeling as a result. So, number one tool. Okay, I know you've heard this one before, but I'm going to say it, and I know it's really important that that this is something that you sit with, right? That you really allow yourself to think about. Number one is limiting your screen time. I know it's so funny because here we are both on screens, right? Talking to each other, but I don't mean just cut off your phone altogether. I don't mean that at all. I mean, what's important here is to look very closely at your life and to say, is this amount of time that I'm spending on my devices, or is that serving me? Am I feeling most authentic in myself? Am I spending too much time or too little time? Your intuition will tell you, right? You will know if you're spending too much time. And so that's what I want you to start to notice. Cut back, maybe let's do something really small. If you notice I'm absolutely on Facebook too much, or yes, I'm scrolling on Instagram, or I'm checking my email several times a day, or I'm in all these other different apps or games or whatever it is, can you cut back on an hour a day? 1 hour a day, if that works for you. Or if it's better for you because you need your phone for work or whatnot during the day, turn it off in the evenings. Shut it off completely. Get an alarm, an actual, I know, old school alarm if you can. Have it next to you. Have your phone off and use that alarm to get up in the mornings. That can be transformative in itself. Right? So that you don't look at your phone from the time you get off work until the time you get up in the morning. So that would be amazing. Now, that might be a leap for a lot of you. So just take a small step. Maybe it's an hour cutting back. Maybe it's 2 hours a day cutting back. Maybe it's half an hour a day, whatever you can do. But let me know in the comments here, how much time would you like to cut back on this week when it comes to limiting screens in your life? What does it look like? Because we have to make space. Right? We have to make space. If we don't make space, we are not going to fully and completely step into the light of who we are. We just won't be able to. So that's what it looks like for number one. Now, number two, I'd love each and every one of you, if you could, to take a look at your calendar over the last month. If you're a scheduler like me, you might have that in your calendar already. If you tend to do things just a little bit more spontaneous and you don't have that written down, then I encourage you just to go back in your memory, write it down on a paper calendar as to what you remember that you did and what you were focused on. So I want you to look at that list, whether it's work, whether it's home related, whether it's family related. I want you to go through with a red pen or however you need to, if it's digital, to go through and just cross off the things that you did not need to do. What was busy work? What was important in the moment, but truly non essential in the long run? right? This is a life inventory. It's time to look at our lives, right? We're heading into fall, which is a bit more of a reflective time for us to discover what's happening in here, right? So, looking at your calendar and finding out what was working for me and what wasn't, right? Really taking your time with that. And then look it over, right? And no shame, right? If you end up spending hours online or you watch Netflix for 4 hours one night because it was your favorite show or whatever it is, no shame, no blame, right? We're just looking at, where did you spend your time? Was it worth your time now that you've looked back on the month before, now that you looked back on August? Was it exactly how you wanted to spend your time? Or was it spent in different areas that you did not want to spend your time in? So just looking at that again. Number 3, schedule in slow living time in your calendar, like an actual, if you have Google Calendar or something to that extent, as I'm saying, less screen time. You can also do a planner, right? If you have a physical planner. I do both personally because I think it helps. Because also, I don't want to be staring at my phone all day. So I will have it in my Google Calendar. It's much easier to move tasks around. And then I will add, in pencil or erasable pen in my actual written planner. And that's what I reference during the day if I need it. So that's one way of looking at it is, however you need to, whatever works for you for scheduling, but make sure you are adding that in. Make sure you're adding in slow living, specifically a time slot for you. Now, you might ask yourself, what would I do with that time slot? So, this is where it's so important to find out what your values are, right? So, what do you want to spend time on? Do you want to learn a new recipe, maybe, and try something at home that you just would never have made time for? Would you like to meditate more, to do more yoga? Maybe you just want to take technology free walks with, like I said before, a friend, a partner, maybe just with your dogs, however it works for you. Maybe you want to just sit on your back patio in the evening, listening to the crickets, staring up at the stars and the moon, and just marveling at the mystery of life. Right? I know it's like we don't make time for this very often, do we? Unless we're on vacation or unless something just, we happen to have extra time in our schedule. So give yourself credit too as you're doing this. Do not be hard on yourself because it might not be easy to follow through on the slow living block of time that you put in. You might find the old habitual mind says, nope, we don't have time for this. Nope, I got to get in that extra hour of work that I missed yesterday because I woke up late, whatever it is. Make this sacred time for you as best you can, but don't be hard on yourself because it takes time to set up new behaviors. It takes time to make this a reality in your life. So, again, I'm going to go through these tips and tools again. Number 1, limit your screen time. Determine now. Let me know in the comments how much. Yes, Heidi, thank you for letting me know too. You need to use your planner more. It's really important, right? I know it's one thing that it's so easy to forget, but as you think about this, what do I need to cut back on? What kind of screen time do I need to have? I know the iPhone, for example, allows you to limit your screen time. And so that can help if you need a little bit of a boost. And then number 2, taking a look at your calendar. What is busy work? What did I do last month that was not in any way productive towards my long-term goals or my purpose, or didn't give me any kind of meaning, but I did it because someone told me I had to do it, right? So just notice, when are you saying yes when you mean no? Look at that calendar. Number 3, and this is of course, all of these 3 things, if you could attempt them this week, is that you want to schedule in the slow living block of time. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much time that is because it's up to you. But for myself, I know I spend hours in slow living time a day. And it's not always like 3-hour blocks. It's like an hour in the morning, for example. It's an hour in the evening. It's an hour midday, if I can, if it's possible, but it's not always. And so I just find the time I can, but I always schedule it in. And nothing can take over that. It's just like an appointment. Oh, it's an appointment with myself. I'm doing some slow living activities or nothing right in that moment. And so that's something to note for yourself as you think about that. So those are the 3 things. I encourage you to try that this week. And then I'm going to check in with you again in the Facebook group or on our live next week. I'd love to hear what happened for you. What was that like? And now I want to lead you through a very gentle meditation, just a short meditation to help you really get in touch with this slow living lifestyle. So if you are in a safe and comfortable place, please let me know if you're ready. So just let me know in the comments if you're ready to go. I'm just checking the comments now as well. Yes, thank you. Oh, yes, thank you so much. I know it says Facebook user on my end, so I'm not sure your name, but I hear that you like to block off times, that you don't want to scroll mindlessly. Oh my gosh, right? Absolutely. And an hour in the morning, 2 hours. Let me see if I can move that. 2 hours before bed every night, an hour in the afternoon as well. Yes, it's a coping distraction. You got it. And it's also so addicting, right? It is so addicting. It's like our mind automatically goes into check your email, right? Check Facebook. You haven't checked it in 2 hours, right? That kind of thing. So, yes, filling the voids with distractions. You are not alone. So, thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. I know a lot of people feel that same way. And awesome. So, I see you are both, all of you. Oh, yes, all of you are ready. Okay, wonderful. So, get settled in, closing your eyes, and we're going to meditate together. So, placing your hand over your heart if you can. This helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which tells you you're safe and everything's okay right now. And just close your eyes if it's not already. And just check in with yourself. Just notice in this present moment, how do I feel? What am I noticing in my body? And am I able to be present with it right here and right now? Good. And then I'm just going to invite you to take a few deep breaths in, not chest breathing where you're just holding your breath at the top, but very deep belly breathing. So you can feel your belly rise and you can feel your belly fall. So maybe one other hand on your belly if that helps. And just breathing in and breathing out through your mouth or your nose. Never makes sense for you. And you're just coming back here, coming back home to yourself in this moment. And just take in the sound of my voice, any other sounds in the room. Allow the air to just be right here on your skin. Notice if it's warm or cool or neutral. Notice what it's like as the breath comes in through your nose and leaves through your nose or mouth. Notice the temperature. Notice the mind and how the mind wants to speed up and make things happen. Just let it be. Part of slow living is learning to not do everything your mind tells you to, right? It's just noticing that's the mind, that's what it does, and you just keep coming back to your breath. Gentle, quiet, just being present to whatever's here emotionally or just thought based. Good. And as you are breathing, just breathing in this beautiful present moment, I'm going to read you a slow living quote that I invite you to take into your heart. And then I'm going to ask you to reflect on that for a moment and then share with me in the comments if you could. And this quote is, slow living isn't about determining how little we can live with. It's about working out what we simply can't live without. This is by Nathan Williams. And just sitting with that right now. Slow living isn't about determining how little we can live with. It's about working out what we simply can't live without. And so, without trying so hard, keeping your eyes closed, still centering in on your breathing, allow the first 1 to 3 things to arise within your mind. Just noticing, what can I not live without? Maybe a person comes to mind, pet, maybe it's something else, maybe it's nature, maybe it's self love or compassion. Just allow it to be there, whatever that is for you. Breathe it in. Let yourself feel that fully. Good, good. And so I invite you just to allow whatever came up for you to be there. Notice that there's no right or wrong with this whatsoever. And take one more deep breath in, coming back to the room again. And just knowing that whatever you came up with, whatever came up in your mind, whatever you noticed, these are your values or they're connected to your values. And so this is what you need to spend time on this week. This is what you need to spend time on in that block of time, right, for yourself. And so I'm going to again check in with you because I want to make sure you're doing these things. I want to make sure that you're starting to really adopt the slow living life so that by the end of the month, we can look back and say you've made all of this progress towards that and that you're already starting to feel the changes within your nervous system. If you want to share, I would love to hear what your values are. What came up for you around that? What was the imagery, if there was imagery that was showing up for you? So please do share in the comments. And then I want to, as you're doing that, I want to also end with letting all of you know, for those of you who came on later, that I am a holistic psychotherapist and life coach. I do soul ascension coaching. And so if you want to learn more about how to live a more purposeful life, how to live a more meaningful life, and you want to heal inner child wounds and trauma, then I invite you to take some time. This might be part of your slow living time if you need to book a call with me. I often have a couple, I think I might have only one or two slots this week for a 15-minute consultation to talk to you about different ways I might be able to help in helping you to move towards your goals of slow living, living a more purposeful life, healing your inner child wounds, healing the trauma that keeps you stuck, anything that keeps you right now from living a soul inspired and awakened life. So let me know if you're interested in that. I'll also book, or I'll actually just add the link of my calendar here, probably in the comments. And then let me know if any questions arise, but I'd be happy to talk with you and refer you to any other resources if there's nothing I have that can be a good fit for you. And in the meantime, remember those three things. By the way, if you're coming in late, I realize that you might not know what those three things are. So there's three things to focus on this week. And so I encourage you, one, limit your screen time. Two, to look over your calendar from August and to truly look at the tasks that you were involved in and find out how many of these were essential. How many of these helped me to really move towards the goals that matter to me in my life? And then number three is to schedule a block of slow living time, which is just time where you are focused on your values and you're being more mindful and you're being more present. And it might just be scheduling do nothing time, right? Love do nothing time. You just sit and you enjoy and you relax and you allow yourself to be in a receptive mode. So please let me know if any questions come in as we go. And let's see, I see a comment came through. Oh, yes, no attachments. Love that. Thank you for sharing. Myself and embracing energetic healing and protective practices, thirst for knowledge. Oh my goodness, isn't that beautiful? So that is a sign for you. That is your intuition speaking to you. So absolutely embrace that if you can this week. Please do let us know how it goes because we're a community here. We're here to support each other. And when you get stuck, please do let us know so that we can come together. And then now I just want to leave all of you with a namaste. Thank you so much for all of your attention, for your focus, for your commitment to being fully present here in our training today. And I look forward to seeing you next week as well. Take good care and do let me know how these practices are going. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.